I'm Shlomo Chopp. I'm with Case Equity Partners, and I'm also the founder and CEO of Shop Fulfill, here with Rebekah Kondrat of Kondrat Retail, who is a retail extraordinaire. We'll give a brief intros over here, and then we also have Christina Prostano, who's a residential broker here in New York City. And the synergy is really great because you have the consumer side of it, from how the consumers are, where the consumers are buying, where they're locating. And we also have the retail operations side and setting up stores and helping brands that are online get into retail stores. And I'm here as the eye candy.
Clearly, with the
Yes.
blowing hair.
Yes, exactly.
I love
this
it.
hair situation. We
So
got to deal with it.
good.
Yes, 100%. So, Rebekah, why don't you give a brief intro about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm founder of Kondrat Retail. I spent the first, 2 decades of my career in-house with brands like Apple, Starbucks, and then moved to kind of D2C land with Warby Parker, Outdoor Voices. Joybird Furniture was my last director of retail role. And then went on to the agency side, started helping brands open stores, enter retail strategically, hopefully in a better place than if they were to do it themselves. And about a year and a half ago, I kind of branched off and started my own thing. So, yeah, here we are.
Yeah, here we are in the Shopify New York studios.
You know, I came and toured this 3 months ago.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened, but out there they used to have a whole product shot studio where you could do like product flats.
It might be upstairs.
Oh, they may have moved it. Okay.
There's-
Then I see they put their like little one-on-one session situation down here, which was upstairs before. And then they had retail in the front that was showcasing Shopify brands. But I suppose this Omicron situation has, kind of ruined everything for the moment, but hopefully it returns.
Yeah, we've all given blood at the door, Put it down, blood.
They
yeah,
swabbed
go.
me, all of the
antibodies,
things.
Yeah.
We're all good.
We've sanitized the thing. So, Christina, please introduce
Yes.
yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing.
So I am Christina Prostano. I'm 17 years in residential real estate here in New York City. I work the Brooklyn and Manhattan markets. Most of that time has been with Corcoran Group. I do everything from new development to a lot of downtown loft space, primarily townhouses in Brooklyn. So I shop.
You
So
shop.
I may not have
Got
Your
it.
lot to
clients
contribute
shop.
to
No, but actually-
retail.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
clients
Actually,
shop.
I'm working on a wellness center on the Upper East Side right now, and the design team, this has nothing to do with you personally, but it's just the connection between residential and commercial. The design team was predominantly like a residential design team.
Ah, interesting.
And they wanted the feel to be very like homey and home-like, and so they've designed this beautiful commercial space that's going to be a pretty substantially sized wellness center on the Upper East Side coming soon. Can't tell you the name of it yet, but I will as
when
soon as
we're
I
able
can.
to know.
Yeah,
you'll let
we're
us know.
targeting like May opening.
All right.
So yeah, pending
Yes,
supply
Is it part
chain
of a
issues.
residential project or is it separate?
It's yes and no. So we've worked very closely with the CoOp board, and they were very specific about the type of commercial they
Yes.
wanted
In
the building
Yeah.
because obviously it speaks to the valuation of the apartments, et cetera, as you know.
Yes.
So previous to this, the tenant was like one of those large pharmacy chains, and so not exactly
Not glamorous,
boosting the
perhaps, but
valuation.
yeah.
So they're very happy about the design.
That's great.
And everything.
You will
yes.
definitely increase the value of the units in that building.
I
Yeah,
sure
and
hope
if you
so.
want to know,
Can't wait to sell one or two.
Exactly.
Seriously.
And if you want to know what it's going to be, you got to follow Rebekah on Twitter, which is her
It's true.
social media platform of preferred platform.
That's your preferred.
It is
at
true.
RD Kondrat, RDKONDRAT.
All right.
That's
And
me.
I'm at Shlomo Chopp, SHLOMOCHOPP, and you.
And I'm at Christina Prostano, and it's CH, ends in an A, and it's PROSTANO.
You're not Christina with a K.
Not a K.
Not Christina with a K. Got it.
And there's usually an
important.
extra R thrown in somewhere in the last name.
Right.
Prostano, doesn't it? Prostano does not
Yes.
exist. No R.
So,
Just the beginning.
so here's a really interesting topic I think is we should dig in on this over here. So
Spelling of our names.
yes.
Okay.
There's no Y in it either, is
Nope.
it? Okay, good. Just making sure. Okay, got it. But she's with Rebekah with a K.
Yes.
Okay,
Rebekah.
see, these things
Yes.
are important to note.
It's true.
One
Because
K.
you will not find that person
No,
Only
on
one.
Instagram, their platform of choice.
exactly.
Twitter, don't find me on Twitter.
I won't-
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
I'm
your
there, but-
Instagram platform of choice. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Instagram's on.
So one thing that's interesting, you just mentioned about pharmacies not adding value to the building. I'm like, 10 years ago, it's like, of course, pharmacy is the best value you could add to building,
Right.
right?
Sure.
So things have changed. And I'm curious, you as a residential broker, right? So there's these new delivery apps and this new same day, all this stuff, right? And I want to get into some of that because I got some hot takes on that, and I'm sure we'll get back and forth on that. But so how important is retail to a building given the fact that I could get Grubhub, Uber Eats, I could get Gorillas, I get Joker, and like whatever of these other guys, like when you're showing a building, do people look and say like, where's the closest food? Do people say, where's the closest grocery? Or I could live in the desert, if it's 10-minute delivery, I'm good to go.
100%. They ask those questions. 100%. Grocery.
But why?
Yeah,
Delivery,
I know
I
it's
mean,
becoming
yeah.
less important, it's for sure.
Okay.
But I think it's also about the vibrancy of the neighborhood, and people want to walk out the door and see people. And I think some of that street life, and it's been interesting with what happened with COVID, and now all the restaurants and their outdoor dining has actually brought more tables to some places, and it's made it more interesting to walk around, right? So you might have seen like small storefronts before. Now you see people on the street. You turn a little strip into almost a pedestrian area, right? So that it's bringing some life. So people, they want to be, I think more than anything, they want to be near a subway. So
Why?
certainly,
Where are they going?
Right.
Everything can be brought to
yeah,
them,
right,
work
when
from
they
home.
go into
No,
their
serious,
office.
I'm
Only when
asking
they
you-
have to go to their office. It's true. We have to rethink all of it. We have to rethink all of it. And I think, like to Rebekah's point about the type of retail in the building, I think that's almost more important. That is like, what is the vibe of the building? They look at the lobby. They look at the what's the retail space. So it's like more of an upmarket, downmarket thing, I think.
Okay, so I have a question. I don't know anything about really your world at all, but I thought it was so interesting when Hudson Yards first opened. It was rumored, and maybe you can confirm, those apartments were like not selling, and they're quite far, right? They're quite
Yes.
west. But now, and going back to your comment on vibrancy, that area is so vibrant. Like I was at Columbus Circle over the weekend taking my kids to camp, and there was like a stream of foot traffic, but it wasn't anything like that video that you posted the other day of
Yeah.
Hudson Yards,
Yes.
right? So like I'm just curious, like how has the evolution of these like lifestyle centers affected the minds of these consumers? Because I think that informs the brands that go in there, right? It's like all tied together.
Yes. I was on many of those presentations for Hudson Yards, and the amenities are absolutely, I mean, it's the first time we've seen that sort of city built within the city, right? You had no choice. From developers' perspective, what could they do, right? You're literally in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But yes, the parks and the outdoor space and the space are really a big drivers for people. So they do want to see community in some way. And I think the city got a little weird and scary for people last year. Like a lot of people left. And I think, when these communities kind of popped up in those places, and something similar can be said for Brooklyn, because Brooklyn went through the same sort of thing.
Yeah, like
Manhattan
Industry
lost
City,
its prime, right? It
City
didn't matter
Point,
where you were
yeah.
living, so you're not commuting to your office. Brooklyn became wildly popular for those exact reasons that also work for Hudson Yards, also work for even Battery Park City. I mean, not everyone's first choice of a neighborhood, but the waterfront and being outside and a little more space and still access to services, right? But
so are those buildings now full? I mean, are they capacity?
I don't know the current state of the sellout. I don't sell a lot over there, but they are doing, I think, just fine. And also, some of the luxury buildings are bigger units, so that if the mix is more heavy family, bigger units, those are the spaces that did better. It was fun selling a couple of Midtown East 1-bedrooms this year.
Right. Yeah. Like, oh.
I mean, they're not at their top value right now, and they're still not. Like, they're coming back, but they're not there. So townhouses in Brooklyn, the traffic never stopped.
Oh, I bet.
Never, ever slowed down.
I think this is really interesting because what you've said essentially is that everything's shifting, but there's got to be a bridge. Right, like Jeff Bezos wants to populate Mars, and we love him for that, right? But at the end of the day, what happens between there and then, right? What happens in between? So, is work from home the way it's going to be? I mean, there's other factors, right? Because at the end of the day, employers going to be happy? I mean, for crying out loud, employers would lose money because of gambling and shopping online. So you can send them home to do what? Gambling, shopping, and taking care of a crying kid if your nanny didn't show up, right?
Walking a dog.
So yeah, exactly. And I think especially in a tight labor market, I think there's also some concerns where, you have to react to the market, overreact to the market to sort of differentiate yourself. Perhaps that changes. But on this quick delivery stuff, so here's the really interesting thing, right? We always know that grocery is a very thin margin business, right?
Oh yeah.
It's just a matter you get a
Mhm.
big someone to buy, right? So then we add the cost of quick delivery to it, right? There was a article today that I saw on Bloomberg, essentially reporting that IPOs for for VC backed brands are down drastically. So
Oh yeah.
so their IPO raises have been significant, but once they're trading on the market, they're down significantly, which gives me some hope that there's some sanity in these markets. So basically there's some investors that maybe pump and dump the IPO, right, and then ultimately when the real investors get in and compare it to
strategy.
somebody else,
Yeah.
right, and say,
Yeah.
oh, it's just not making money. But let's take like some of these quick delivery places, right? 10-minute delivery, 15-minute delivery. I mean, geez Louise, I mean, if you could deliver something quicker than it takes me to make a scrambled egg, do I really need that, right? And the question then becomes, what is it that they're after? Is it that they're after the speed delivery? Is it after the surety of delivery within a certain amount of time? Because heck, if you get the cable guy, right, it's like, I'll be there from 1 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock at night.
Whole Foods
Right.
charges a
Good
premium
afternoon,
for that.
sorry.
Do you want a 2-hour window or you want a 1-hour window?
Oh yeah, they're the
Oh.
ones.
They're gaming this out.
Yeah, you didn't know that? They literally moved the
No.
goalposts already.
I use Fresh Direct, so I
No, Whole
Oh,
Foods
you're
went
It's a
old
2-hour
school.
delivery.
delivery.
I'm old school.
Yeah. So I mean,
So they're testing that.
Yeah, so here's the question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that people want to be near vibrancy, right? Which means that they want to have a grocery nearby because they want people walking around. They want to have a restaurant nearby, which means they could get the 10-minute stuff if they want, right? Great. And then the flip side is saying, well, they are still already bringing, they also use these delivery services, right? And then we look at the unit economics for some of this stuff, and I don't know how these VC guys, what Excel spreadsheets they use in macros that are totally flawed, but it just doesn't make sense. It's almost like someone's going to wake up like the mortgage crisis and say it doesn't work. How does that all reconcile? I mean, what happens first? Like, do people change their behavior, which has historically been the hardest thing to get people to do? Or do these things go out of business? And I'm just trying to reconcile reality with what the investment world is looking at.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay, so I'm not a super grocery, like I don't pay super close attention to grocery. Most of my clients are like, apparel. I have a few CPG, things like that. But this topic is super interesting, and I think it's like a high value, low value in the mind of the consumer, right? They want to be around these high value, as in like high entertainment, highly desired, like the Iron Chef restaurants and the best shops, and going back to the Hudson Yards example. But then if they need like a I don't know, I'm out of Q-tips, they want them delivered in an hour from GoPuff,
Which is shocking because how much are Q-tips? $3.99, right?
Yeah, less
And how much
probably.
Probably, well, GoPuff maybe even
Yeah.
more. And the delivery cost to get someone to go by is probably like $8, $10, right?
Probably, yeah.
You're paying him $12 an hour, and it takes 40 minutes back and forth to go and deliver it. Yeah.
I think a lot of it is going to come down to the economics, though, because I mean, even my personal behavior has changed since COVID. I started ordering groceries online. I mean, and I had done Fresh Direct in years past, but my typical experience was a food co-op or Trader Joe's run or a Whole Foods run once a week, twice a week. Why am I ever getting in Brooklyn? I'm in a car to do that, right? In Manhattan, you're lugging bags, so it depends on what your lifestyle is. But I have not gone to a full grocery shop since COVID began because I'm now in the habit. My list is in Whole Foods. I order it delivered. What changed? What is slowing down my delivery? I used to order all the time, free delivery.
Yeah,
I would order 3 times a week, free delivery. Now it's $10.
But here's the other question.
That's true. That's true, actually.
So now I'm ordering once every week and a half a massive order of food, which isn't great for people storing food in New York City, by the way, because we would prefer to do more smaller shops. We don't have the space.
Right. Yeah.
But it's good. It's
totally
good
changed
for Whole
behavior.
Foods for sure.
It's good for Whole Foods.
Yeah,
'cause
but here's the
they're
question. The
saving
question
the
isn't
money.
grocery delivery because there's been pizza delivery guys forever. There's been grocery
Yeah.
delivery, right? You go to your grocery, you give them the list, you leave it there, they deliver it to your house,
Yeah.
right? It's oldest thing since whenever.
Yeah.
But the quick delivery, that's where it gets an issue. Like, do you really need your full grocery delivery for next week within a half
Sometimes
hour?
though, if you run out of milk and you need it for that, you some basics you need, you then say, well, I may as well get everything else.
But if
Yeah.
tech gets,
And I would like it fast.
but if tech gets better and machine learning gets better, shouldn't they be able to know when you need it and not have to go do the quick delivery? My point only is this
Better
whole thing
planning.
of quick delivery, I think, is a whole bait and switch situation because, quite frankly, the unit economics don't work, and the more of these companies pop up, the less benefit you have by aggregating many orders.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So-
the more it does well, the harder it's going to be to actually fulfill it because you can't get same delivery when you start. It's not that scalable, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's very very difficult to do, which is what you see this time of the year with the holidays, right? It's like try getting same day delivery. I mean, they're literally telling Amazon workers not to leave in a hurricane, right, or
Right,
a tornado
yeah.
because they can't get the orders out. Like there's just not an ability to do that.
It's true. I agree with you about unit economics. I almost wonder if there's more at play here. Like there's got to be some data, there's got to be something that's worth losing the money to get, for a larger gain. Now you know people's habits. Now you know what they buy. Now maybe you can feed them ads on a certain cadence because every Friday they need Q-tips. I don't know
Mhm.
who's using that many Q-tips, but I think there's that, but then I also think there's the emergency I'm willing to pay a premium for,
Mhm.
which is like your example. Like,
Convenience.
oh, I have my all of my ingredients for pizza except I forgot yeast.
Yeah.
And
Can't do it
this
without.
literally happened to
Yep.
me over the weekend and I was like, oh, I don't have yeast.
okay, but would you pay extra $5
I
for
ran
yeast?
to the supermarket across the street, but
I
if
might.
I
It
were in the middle of,
depends.
I didn't have a supermarket across the street, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Need that yeast.
So
Gotta have it.
by the way, the best way to do pizza is to cook it ahead of time, and let it age for a bit, and then you get it from there. I'll talk.
Oh,
just
I did
I'll
it.
talk.
I
I'll
didn't
talk to
know.
the
order
wife
it.
to get
That's
the
the best
recipe.
way.
I
Order it up.
Oh yeah.
No, it's so much
My
better.
style of
I
cooking.
can't go back.
No, it's really good.
It's so
My
much
husband
better.
makes it at home. We
Yeah.
have it at home all the time. It's really good.
So there's yes. I listen. I just question all these business models, and you're right. There's got to be ulterior motives.
Yeah.
But the more these guys crop up, the more these going to have to be consolidation. But the more the valuations are popped up and up and up and up and up and up, these guys are going to be afraid about down rounds. It's going to be very difficult to consolidate this stuff. So I just see this whole market being so frothy. When you look at it on a fundamental level, it's just a bunch of different people going in parallel universes saying my total addressable market, right? The people that I could actually deliver to, or the
Mhm.
people that are actually my customers, is yay big. And the answer is no, it's not, because there's like 20 other companies vying for it,
Sure.
and they
Yeah.
inherently all have a couple of percent of the market. So that becomes an issue. So so it's interesting. But I don't know. New York City, it's back. There's no question.
No doubt.
It's back from a transportation, all that stuff. But people aren't paying the $200 rents. Although L&L has got a development on Park Avenue, he's got $1 billion loan to finish off the property, which is insane because I believe it's a large floor plate property. It's got to be, and they got a used loan for that. So I mean, New York City is back from people perspective. And certainly from a residential perspective, I think rents are getting back to a certain extent. And you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's crazy high yet. I think it's getting there.
Retail. The residential rents have been outrageous the last year.
So it's been
I
back
think
to
it's
pre-COVID
settling.
levels?
Yeah, worse. It was worse.
It's worse.
But I think that all came tied to news of companies reopening, some of which didn't happen.
Right.
Like we had a moment in August and September. I don't do a ton of rentals, but in August and September, that was like people were bidding up rents by large percentages.
Interesting. So we got rents back, but the retail side of it, you said something interesting the other day on our podcast, retails.io. It's www.retales.io. Shameless plug. ESPN1, ESPN2, ESPN3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got it too. Thank you. So you said something interesting on that. You said with regards to dealing with brands and looking at New York City. Talk to me about that.
So from what I'm seeing, and look, these are like what I'm going to call like traditional trafficked neighborhoods, like Soho. I have several clients in Soho. I think we all, myself included, thought that we would see a pretty decent lift, even over 2019 levels, because everything seemed to be trending in that direction. I think Omicron was a little bit no one predicted that. We all thought this thing would subside more than it has, et cetera, et cetera. But traffic is soft. It is soft in Soho. It's soft in these kind of traditional shopping. Even the Columbus Circle, I posted that video and it was like, meh.
I think you used the word steady flow of traffic.
Steady flow of traffic, but not like, I remember shopping the weekend before Christmas pre-pandemic and it was bananas, wall-to-wall people, shoulder to shoulder. Like, the shops were like,
well, how were the numbers on Black Friday?
Okay, if you look at the NRF reporting, it was soft, like for most areas. But then I had my friend who is in, West Palm Beach, Florida, which, Florida takes a very different tack and also warmer weather climate. So like not quite seeing the surge that the Northeast and the colder weather climates are seeing because people are driven indoors, et cetera, et cetera. He was like, oh, we're nutty over here. Like it is crazy. And then my friend in Connecticut is like tweeting at me like, oh, we're bananas over here. So I think what's happening is like the traffic is just kind of staying away from these urban centers where traditionally brands have viewed these as like a huge marketing and visibility play, especially in this time of year. It's just not happening this year.
And I suppose you don't have the regional visitors at the same scale.
Right.
So the day train people are not
right.
I was out in Connecticut over the weekend and I expected Sunday. I came back on Sunday morning and had to work open houses and I thought the train's going to be super crowded. People are going to come in for the day. And it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't crowded at all at 10 o'clock in the morning or, 9 o'clock in the morning. So
yeah,
I wonder if that's a lot of that retail market.
Yes. And to your earlier point about offices reopening, I think a lot of them started to reopen. And then because my husband works in an office in Midtown, they've now they've kind of backpedaled on that and said like, nope, we're going to stay closed. And, I think that has dictated a lot of the traffic that, we thought, or the softening in the traffic, so I think.
And this week is particularly tough because the rate of transmission is so high. That to say it's as contagious as chickenpox and the measles. Yeah. And they didn't close schools. So I think everyone's just like, what, like, quick, let's stop. But or not. And I think we've had it. Like everyone's had it. I understand.
Yeah. I know so many people. Stop it. Oh my gosh.
Yay.
I know so many people that have it right now. But fortunately,
I have my government provided vaccination card.
He's going to show you his antibodies.
Oh, my antibodies. Through the roof. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I must have been exposed to COVID on the way because my antibodies are still over the
good for you though.
Limit.
That's great.
Oh yeah, 100%. Anyone
blood? The medical community doesn't necessarily agree with your bar, where the bar is for having like sufficient antibodies.
The medical community can agree with themselves. Okay, so let them worry about themselves before they come to me.
They come to you as the expert.
100%.
Wait, but okay, back to just this because there's one more thing I want to say about this. This right now would normally be the time where stores really shine because all of your shipping deadlines have passed.
Right.
Especially this year.
Right.
You can't ship anything and get it in time for Christmas. Period. End of story. Like not happening. So now would normally be the time where stores are like slammed.
The last
and they're
minute shoppers.
ready. And and they have, this is circa 2008-ish. Christmas Eve at Apple was like insane.
Tickets for some concert or something.
Yes. I don't even know, and so I think people who in retail are used to that are like, oh no, so I think it's just been really disappointing, really only happening, at least in my observation, in like kind of this Northeast area and then in like highly concentrated urban centers, like some areas of California, but some of these outliers or other southern states where it's warmer, Texas, Florida, et cetera, are actually fine from a traffic standpoint.
So it's interesting because if you think about it, if you can't ship till obviously Christmas, it's the last second, right?
Right.
And store traffic is slow, you should then use the store at least as a, and again, this is, you don't want to be a real distribution as a distribution center, right? So anyone that has the omni-channel, and omni-channel is the most overused word, means 60 things. I mean, taking multiple channels and combining into one, because, omni-channel can mean to different people, different things. But if you can combine the two, then you essentially provide for someone to say, I'll shop e-commerce, but I'll shop in this store e-commerce because I know worst case, I go 2 blocks over and I can exchange it. I have
Yeah.
optionality, so to speak. And you'd think that being near residential areas would be very beneficial. That's even if you're not coming to store, you're there. So if someone, let's say, is out in Greenwich at their vacation home and would shop otherwise there, but not going to be here for Christmas or New Year, whatever it is, they know that they have a place locally where they can return to. So companies and retailers that are forward thinking could benefit from it. And they obviously need to stop looking at it as a silo, e-commerce versus store, because in stores
Yeah.
to them may or may not make sense. Although I always like saying, if Sears could have profitable stores, you could have profitable stores. But whatever, it is what it is. So I think that this trend, it's all about living in the moment and the issues in the moment. Just like, and to take a real estate analogy, all the guys are overpaid for Soho properties because all the amounts of money they could rent it out for retail. And look at what's going on right now.
Yeah.
It's like their pro forma is all blown up, and they sort of seen it coming. Potentially, things go up and down. Things don't just continue going up like hockey stick,
Right.
like a VC pro forma.
Although
So
everyone might think that in terms of real estate investment in New York, there's a
Yes.
whole lot of residential purchases that were done on the basis of that being the expectation.
Sure.
100%. 100%. Yes, I think, listen, I think at the end of the day, there's this synergy between where people live, where people buy, and sort of, it's placemaking, it's just community making, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to.
And
So
maybe that part is more important in some way.
yeah.